Hello. What follows is a discussion with Bob Kidney about the time in his life when the band hadn't existed yet and how the band came to be, those formative years before the band started. It's a fascinating journey, and I will have several parts. Please enjoy my discussion with Bob Kidney.
Changed your mind.
Yeah. Okay, so sitting with my friend Bob Kidney, and we're going to talk about the period in his life that was sort of formative and very important. Coming of age, turning into the artist that he became, and the period sort of before the band happened and why the band happened and those kind of things. And so I'm grateful that Bob decided to sit down and do this. And I think it's going to be very interesting to the folks that love the music and to folks that have never met Bob. So let's see, I do this. Here we go. And so let's get started. This is about a lot about a place called the Berth, which was a coffee house.
Well, it was originally a movie theater. It would look like it was over on a place called Johnson Street in Akron, in a very strange location. It was in the middle of like semi-urban neighborhood. It looks like it might have maybe seated 200 people.
And that was Berth.
Berth, like railroad berth. And somehow, well, actually, I was living in a place in Akron called the ISA House. And the reason I was living there is a friend of mine from high school invited me to stay there for the summer, and it was an opportunity for me to get out of the house and not have to live at home. And I had my own room and had a porch. I was still working at the co-op supermarket, stocking shelves at night. And while I was living there, this fellow I knew named Gary Hawk, who I met I would go to this place where Joe Walsh and his band were playing and dance. And I did the skate. And I was dancing with this woman. Well, I don't know if I can think of her name, but anyway, she was friends with a woman named Francie. And when this woman that I was dancing with found out that I played the guitar and whatnot, she said her friend Francie knew a guy who played harmonica and stuff, and he liked blues as well. So one night I'm there, and they show up, and the guy's on crutches, and that's how I met Gary Hawk. And then we got to be friends. He came to me when I was living at the ISA house with an advertisement in the newspaper. And I think we may have played a couple of times, a few times together, possibly. Timeline would have been we had played together at a place called La Cave in Cleveland, where I had played alone. And I don't remember, I think we were just probably playing during the week. I don't think we really were opening for anyone. I opened for Janice Ian and Linda Ronstadt when she was touring with the Stone Ponies on Different Drum.
Yeah. Mike Nesmith song.
Oh, is that so? And Also, I opened for the Jim Queskin Jug Band, who nobody knows about.
I don't.
anymore.
Yeah, I remember those guys.
Janice Ian, Society's Child.
Yeah,
The Le Cave was an amazing place.
that was
Joni
there for
Mitchell played there. I mean,
that was
everybody did.
there for a long time too.
Pretty good. I mean, I went up and saw the original Velvet Underground, and went to Howard Johnson's on the corner there, up in Cleveland. And there were some of the members of the band. I don't know who I was talking to. Who, they're all very well known. But we just sat out and started talking to them. But anyway, to get back to the point, he gives me this advertisement, and there's a place looking for talent, and it says Coffee House, and it was called Focus. So I went there, and he said, you ought to go down there. He suggested you should go down there, that I should go down there, and play for the guy and see if he'd like to have us play or me play or whatever. So I went in there, and there's this guy in there. It's just me and him, this huge, big, open place, and there's nothing in there but the stage. Nothing at all. All the chairs, everything was gone, carpeting was gone, nothing. It was just empty. But there was this big stage, and his name was Victor Ing. And I played, and he, was kind of excited about the fact that he had somebody to play there, was interested in playing there. I don't really remember how early on it was. I wouldn't have known how early on it was. Pretty soon there were plenty of people playing there.
I played there.
Yes, I remember you mentioned that.
Yeah, once with my friend Doug McIntyre. That was a big deal for us because I couldn't drive yet, and was going to Akron. Was, a thing.
So after we were done with this audition, I'm talking to Victor, and he seemed a bit overwhelmed by everything. And I said, let's see how you'll see how it goes, and I said, but the first thing you got to do is you got to change that name because it sounds like a camera shop. I said, that is not going to get people over here.
That's funny.
And
that you would I'll play here, but wrong name.
Well, I just suggested. I mean, he was talking about asking me for ideas about what I thought, and I said, well, one thing you need to do is to change the name. And he said, will you have any ideas? And I said, well, I don't know. I'll think about it. It wasn't, something I had come in here to think about. But the next time we talked about it, I said, yes, I have the name. The name is the Berth. Berth, like railroad berth, to get people to come here and relax and enjoy themselves in this nice place. And that's how the name happened. And I started playing there all the time, and Gary and I started working there after a while, and people started showing up. And I played there quite a bit because I was still living at home, and I just hop in my car, or my mother's car actually, and drive over there. I go over there and play 3-4 nights a week, and he really enjoyed what I was doing, and other people seemed to enjoy what I was doing. I knew that there was something going on because I got good reaction from people at Le Cave, and I got good reaction at that other place you played called the Needle's Eye.
Right.
Which is interesting. I was told by a friend of mine, Al Mulburn, I could be wrong. He could have been wrong. I mean, who we also played together. I don't know if you know. You probably don't know him.
Yeah.
But he told me there was a society, a Jewish society.
Maybe the Hillel House or something like that.
Yeah, Hillel. That's right. And I thought it was interesting that it was called the Needle's Eye.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, to get back to my point, I started working at the Berth frequently, and because of the support I got from Vic, I was there working on what I was doing constantly, and there was usually an audience there of some size. on the weekends, of course, there was a bigger audience. And
Did you play for tips?
I got nothing. Okay, he wasn't making any money. I didn't want any money from him. You know, he was working, doing something, and running this place. I don't know what the heck he was thinking about. You know, I didn't want any money. Later on, I guess some people got paid, but he ended up folding anyway because the city of Akron shut him down because of drugs. But my point is, if you have a place to work, you develop.
Right. Young people need a place to work and figure out who they are, you know. And if you don't think that's the truth, just listen to Ray Charles when he was in Seattle, and then listen to Ray Charles 3 or 4 years later. Figured out who he was.
Right.
Yeah. And,
so that's what I remember most about the Berth. And I worked there with Gary a lot. And
so you said that there was, you mentioned that the place was shut down from drugs, a drug bust. And,
yes.
You know, I mean, we're talking 68, 69,
right.
somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
So the world was a different place then. The Vietnam War was in full force.
Right.
Tet Offensive, lots of student activity, lots of Sturm and Drang, and people just were upset. It was, you know, not that long after the first Kennedy assassination, Martin Luther King, civil rights movement, lots of things going on. And, you know, so Akron was this little part of that. And then, so the drug thing influenced your life because of this investigation. You explained to me that there was a family connection because one of the cops in that was involved in that drug thing had you were involved in an incident with him going back a couple of years, like a person that he wanted to.
Well, I'm just telling a story. I couldn't prove it.
Well, no.
I think it's
That's what this is about, is telling stories.
Yeah, well, I think it's an incredible coincidence. I mean, he was shut down because of this huge drug bust that took place in Akron, and it was all about marijuana. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
because marijuana came in to white culture, for lack of a better word,
Mm-hmm.
and pretty much it was like a plague, you know. It was everywhere, and I really never got into it very much until much later. But they were selling all, you know, the whole love generation and the hippies and all that stuff, which I was really I took a jaundiced view of even then. And,
I remember.
But they were selling clothes and incense and all this stuff in the Berth, I smoked pot a few times at some parties and stuff, but it wasn't like something I was really seeking. It was just like, oh, that's interesting, and so on and so forth. They had the Akron Police Department, and I think the judge's name was Barbuto, who went down hard later on.
Yeah, I think Geraldo and Barbuto. And,
right. I mean, he was wrapped up in some criminal activity. I really don't remember exactly what happened, but he was not a good person. Friend of my father's, okay? And this is where it starts getting ugly. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden, my friend Gary Hawk and a friend of his, Greg Colbert, who became the bass player in the first band, were arrested, and along with a bunch of other people, they arrested an entire band, and they were like a rock band, and they were called the Brambles. I got it.
Okay.
The Brambles. And they were doing Stone stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And they were all playing at the Berth, and they were all working at the Berth. And it seems that this one woman admitted to me that she was an informer, and there was another guy who was an informer. And of course, somebody put pressure on. They wanted to put pressure. My father was a political figure. He was the president of the AFL-CIO and business manager of the Sheet Metal Workers Union, and he was like he was a lot like me. He got fired from high school, but he made his way up into this higher echelon, and all of a sudden it comes drifting in. He was elected. He was elected by his membership. Well, it comes drifting in that his son's name is being mentioned among these people who had been busted. So he comes to me and he goes, the sheriff or the chief of police wants to talk to you. So they took me down, and I'm sitting there in front of the chief of police, and he's like interrogating me. And I'm going, well, I don't know anything about drugs in the city of Akron. What do I know about it? I really didn't, And he goes, well, all these people, they all know you. They all mention your name. Everybody knows who you are. We feel you're probably the ringleader. And I said, well, I play at a club where they all go, and I play there, and they all know me. That's why they know me. And I said, and I mentioned the guy's name. I said, the person you need to look at is this person. He's selling heroin. And I told him where. And it wasn't at the Berth. He was a very dangerous person, and I didn't like heroin. I remembered heroin from New York, reading what a despicable thing it is.
Plague,
it still is. It's not like it's any different.
No.
And now we got other choices that destroy you, and whatever. And I'm not going to get into all that, but all I'm saying is, I said, yeah, I know this guy, and I go, yeah, I know him, yeah. I think, well, yeah, and then blah, 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 Then I'm out. I'm out the door. And my father, wanted to know how it went down. And I said, I don't know how it went down. I got nothing to offer these people. I said, they're busting. I said, I said to the chief of police, I said, why are you arresting the Brambles? I said, I know these people. He said, oh, they're all drug addicts. They could be very violent. And I said, I know them. They're not violent. These people are not violent. You got the wrong game here. And I didn't put it like that, but I mean, and then he got a little hot with me. I said, well, hey, you're going to do what you're going to do. I got nothing. You do what you want to do to me. I got nothing. You got nothing with me, because I you can do whatever you want. So all of a sudden, and I was trying to stay out of the draft. I did not want to go to Vietnam, okay, because most of the people that I knew that were going to Vietnam, they were not happy there.
Yeah, that's fair. That's very fair.
And so I was I was showing up at Kent State to go to school. Remember, I was fired from high school now.
Yeah.
I'm not a student. It's not me, okay, from the first grade. And the only reason I got into Kent State University was I went in and I said, my mother and father, or my mother mainly, said, offering, I'll pay your tuition, go do something with your life, I'll help you. So I went up there, I went, okay. I show up at the admissions office, and I did the stuff and jumped through all the hoops, and look at your grades, and I'm looking, while I'm talking to this person, I look into this office, and there's a guy sitting there, and he looks at me, and he goes, and I go, hey, how you doing? Turns out he was my gym coach.
From high school?
No, junior high school.
Junior high school. Okay.
And he remembered me, and he got me into college, personally.
Yeah.
But I was on probation, so I entered college on probation. I don't know how many people can say that. So obviously, I'm not any better of a student, and this thing is starting to tumble, and there's, I'm dealing with. I can't remember what they were called. 1A? No, 1A is good. There was a classification for colleges. If you were in college, you get this classification.
Right.
I don't remember what it was called, but I kept getting them. And then you're good for half a year, and then you get another. You're good for half a year if you can prove you're in school and so on and so forth. Well, I got by with a couple of them, and by then things were starting to turn in terms of the war. I remember they were like 15, 20 people lined up in front of the student union over there at Kent State. There was like 15 or 20 people. That was it. And Howie Emmer, this guy, you don't know who that is. But anyway, was arranging for these protests, as was the mayor's son, who got in trouble too eventually. Like Rick Erickson was his name. He was in the paper. Mm-hmm. But anyhow, all of a sudden, I had just gotten my classification from the draft board. So, wow, I'm good for 6. No, I'm not good for 6 months. It's only been 3 months. I get another one. I gotta go. It's over. It's done. I gotta go. And so I went down. You want to hear this whole story?
Well, what I want to do is let's pause for a second.
Okay.
And we're going to move to part 2.
Okay.